Oh, sorry, forgot to mention disclaimers. Racism, sexism, definitely ageism coming up. Some intense ageism, actually. Alright. This is just the undertext. Thus, why shouldn't some enterprising commercial demographics firm or an academic economist try to take the U.S. Census industrial classification system and examine it in industry by industry and subgroup by subgroup in an attempt to see how each field relates to the advent of the birth dearth? For example, there is the category of agriculture, forestry, and fisheries. How does it fare in the 1990s as the birth dearth babies become young adults? Differentially, I would guess forestry will be in trouble because lumber will be in trouble, because housing will be in trouble, as described in the text here. Agriculture and fisheries, on the other hand, would seem likely to grow along with the total population, that is, more slowly than in the 1980s, but still with some growth due to the demographic momentum from earlier times. But some of the business by business analysis can get very complex as tides wash over cross tides. I gave a talk to a firm that provides services for airlines, everything from refueling to ticketing. Their question was, demographically speaking, how are airlines do in the 90s? We tried to figure it out. On the other hand, as the baby boomers mature, there will be more people in their peak earning years, that is, in their 40s and 50s. That's a lot of well to do people who will want to travel. That's good for airlines and good for airline service companies. On the other hand, there will be a decrease in young adults aged 25 to 35, the cutting edge of the birth dearth adults. Had the birth dearth not occurred, there should have been a lot of young salesmen traveling on airplanes among the group. Alas, they're never they were never born, and so they're not salesmen counting up their frequent flyer miles. How does it all wash out? How do the airlines make out? Probably all right. There will also be lots of more old people, and then fly often to see their grandchildren. On the other hand, there will be fewer grandchildren to see. We decided it can get very complicated. What about the census industry or public administration subcategory, justice, public order, and safety? That includes most policemen. On the basis of demographics alone, the 90s would not seem to be the time to get into business providing billy clubs by policemen. There will be fewer young males. It is young males who commit most crimes. Crimes, therefore, should go down. A billy club is essentially a durable and/or capable good, or a capital good, in that it doesn't wear out, at least not quickly. Therefore, there will be likely to be little demand for billy clubs. Don't invest in United Consolidated Billy Club Inc. How about the entertainment and recreational services? The market will still be there, but to maximize the target, the product must be aimed at middle-aged folks, not the rock and rolling teenagers. What about manufacturing? It's divided into durable and non-durable goods. The non-durable market, like paper, rubber, and beverages, should grow slowly along with the slow-growing economy. Certain durables, however, may be in a worse shape, as described in the next chapter. What about the category professional and related services? Again, some of the components must be looked at separately. The components dealing with health should do well. The society will get older, needing medical attention. On the other hand, people in the health field, pediatrics, will likely be a problem. Fewer children. The parts of professional and related services dealing with education should be in trouble. Due to fewer children and young people. On the other hand, education or re-education programs designed for middle-aged or elderly should be able to manage. It gets complicated. Play the game yourself. Urge your friendly employer to do the same. Advanced planning could save your job. Um, alright. Alright, page 60, the overtext, the normal text, I guess. In the absence of such a detailed projection, I can, however, offer an anecdote or two that take my point beyond the housing industry. I have gave a speech to a meeting of top executives of a small conglomerate a couple years ago, 2 billion in sales. I explained my view of the birth dearth. A young executive got up and said he ran a baseball glove company. Am I in trouble? He asked. I asked him at what age a boy typically first bought a baseball mitt. About age 11, he said. We discussed briefly the demographic trends for 11-year-olds, which are not favorable. Looking at the actual projections, the full answer would go something like this. You are all right now. Things may get a little better through the mid-90s because of the baby boom echo effect, but beyond that, you are indeed in some trouble. You will have fewer customers. Many of the customers you may have been hoping to have in the future will never be born unless fertility goes up substantially. And it probably won't. You will be in a stagnant industry, at least more likely a declining one. You are surely not in a growth industry. End quote. Wow, this dude's just going around talking to business people, being like, oh, if people don't have kids, then your industry will. Yeah, so capitalism in the industry is definitely against birth control and such. This is actually kind of insane. I mean, it's obvious, right? It's still fucked up. Anyways, coming back to our original problem regarding the economic effects of the birth dearth, all those young children. Oh, where will the young kids go and demand new workers of the future get the jobs? Not likely in one baseball glove factory still producing in the U.S. It is unlikely they will expand. Not in the sales force of the baseball glove importer. Demand will be stagnant. Not in the ranks of people who work in sporting goods stores where the gloves are sold. The numbers of total baseball glove related jobs could remain about the same or more likely to drop, as the number of customers decline in the out years. If Social Security payouts will have to start at an even older age of recipients, which, as we shall see, is quite likely due to the birth dearth, then older people will have to keep jobs longer, keeping younger workers even less of an in-demand situation than one might expect. A final story. I spoke not long ago to a group of executives from a large corporation. I reveal no names, but the corporate initials were IBM. I told my birth dearth story. I explained that my research represented only, quote, a work in progress. Standard author poor boy talk. I asked the assembled executives if they could tell me what it meant for their business, which can be an arcane one for a fellow like myself who still writes in longhand. Well, said one sales executive, quote, are really, all we really make are black boxes. They go by a lot of names, typewriters, word processors, personal computers, but they're all black boxes to us. When a new worker arrives at the new desk, that's good news for us. Then the company who owns the desk usually has to buy the worker a new black box. That new worker is typically a young worker. We try to sell the company our black boxes. Now you're telling us that demand for original equipment black boxes will go down for almost 20% in the next decade? That's a whole lot of good news. You're welcome. Better that you know now than discover it later. Geez. The good news is that the rate of decline slows down after 2000, although the long term, the decline continues. These few examples reveal something important about the economic nature of the birth dearth. It typically takes a while for it to be felt. Baby food manufacturers can feel it already. Housing and computer industries can feel it 25 years later, but eventually we all feel it as the demographic waves ebb and flow. sometimes up a little in a given age cohort due to earlier demographic bumps, but generally staying low and lower as fertility stays at a below replacement levels. It's a process, not an event, eroding and or changing the economic situation year after year. Its harmful effects are often felt gradually as growth rates grow slower, even before an old growth level or a shrinking level is reached. Now, of course, it's not all that simple. There are yet more caveats. Just as the housing industry will develop some survival tricks, so too will IBM be on an easier playing field than the straight black box example suggested. IBM doesn't only make black boxes for new entrants to the labor force. By making better black boxes, they can get customers to replace old black boxes with more efficient new black boxes. Moreover, moreover, for most businesses, a bakery, a shoemaker, manufacturer, a car manufacturer, or a highway builder, there is always this fact: things are consumed and or wear out. There is always a replacement market for things that are consumed or wear out. Our Western industrial world will by no means come to a screeching halt because we are going from a high population growth to a low population growth to no population growth, and then likely to a negative population growth in our various domestic markets. Alright.